Welcome to this Moving Panels One Shot. Let's have a nerdy little conversation, and we are closing out the month of animation here on Moving Panels by having a roundtable discussion on what we believe is the greatest comic book related animated theme song. So we had an extensive, almost exhaustive list, and I say almost because we did discover we probably missed a couple.
I'm still pretty exhausted though.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about like how I felt.
Yeah. Which I will post in the show notes the full list that we all went through to make this decision, because we're not going to talk about all of them.
The 9-page Google document you made?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not enough time to do that as an episode, because I really debated were we going to do this as a bracket, and then as I started making the list, I was like, no, we are not. This is just going to have to be an open...
The year of animation.
It's going to have to be an open discussion.
Well, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't get dropped once you changed the bracket, because I know you only bring me in for brackets. So
that's not
brackets and bad movies. It's either that.
Well, there are so many bad movies in this genre. But let me go ahead and introduce who I've got with me to have this discussion. First off, sitting right here in the room with me is my lovely wife, Bethany. How are you, Bethany?
I feel really bad. I didn't do my homework until 15 minutes before we recorded, and you're mad at me. So that's the energy we brought to this is marital strife.
Yeah, I sent everybody the list of animated shows, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks,
Time
I think.
is a construct.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Was it Interstellar all of a sudden?
Also joining us for this conversation from Pop Culture Roulette, it's Nicholas Pepin.
How's it going? I did my homework, and I'm now tired.
How long
I'm tired and I didn't do my homework.
How long did you say it took you to get through them?
All 2 weeks, because I just did it 30, 45 minutes a night here or there. Like I was like, I'm going to kick on MLB The Show, play some video games, and watch some intros, and it took way longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. I probably could have helped, and I could have made it like a YouTube playlist. That way you could just hit play and just let it go.
Yeah, you
now,
could have
wow,
that.
You want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably would
All
have
right,
looked better.
we're canceling the show. We'll do this again next week. Go ahead, Laramie.
Yeah. All right, also joining us is our dapper Southern gent, Blake Fowler.
Also did my homework, and I haven't seen my wife in 2 weeks. So, yeah, she is wondering when this episode comes out so we can be together again.
So you can reunite.
Yeah, so we can, the sweet embrace of my partner.
And then finally, last but certainly not least, everybody's favorite from the 80s flick flashback, it's Tim Williams.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that Bethany crammed 15 minutes because I started mine this afternoon, and it took me 4 hours. But like Nicholas, I was playing MLB The Show while I started through the 50s and 60s and most of the 70s before I had to take a break and do something else. So.
All right. Well, now that everybody knows that we poorly planned for this episode.
I'm poorly planned for this episode. I'm here to bring just joy.
I might have crammed, but I got it in. I listened to 75% of them. I mean,
don't say it like that.
Nicholas and I have notebooks with writing in them, so I'm not sure who poorly planned.
So do I.
Bethany just says Sailor Moon wins. That's all her notebook says.
How did you read that, Blake?
Well, after my retinal reconstruction surgery in 2005. Oh, sorry, we're going to get into... My bad. Bionic eyes, that's all.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we're just going to have this as an open conversation. I did prep everybody with a couple of questions to consider so that we could kind of narrow things down. But we looked at anything that I could find, and again, did discover missed maybe a couple along the way. But everything I could find from before the 60s, so 50s and earlier. Then we've got the 60s, which is where it really started to pop. Then into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and even the 2010s.
And some 20s.
And then, I did do some 20s. So we are going to first kind of go around, and I will let each person tell me I'll go ahead and say this. Of the three that were from the 50s and earlier, so we had the Fleischer Superman, we had the Harvey Films, Harvey Tunes, and we had Maddie's Fun Day Funnies, which was still Harvey. I don't know if anybody knew that's still Harvey Tunes.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So those were really the only three that I could find. So were there any of those three that anybody thought are something worth talking about?
The Fleischer Super.
Bethany does not.
The Fleischer
I liked
Superman.
the Maddies, but that's just because it was a fun song. And it had the week countdown, and I love when weeks are listed off in a song.
When the days of the week are listed off. Yeah.
That's why Friday by Rebecca Black is one of my favorites.
That says so much about you, Bethany. You have no
Yeah.
idea.
That tells you a lot about what her decisions are going to be about best song.
I'm really concerned about the educational content of my theme songs, and so I went with.
Look, this morning my child would not get out of bed, and I said, if you get out of bed, we will listen to Friday by Rebecca Black. And that child shot up out of bed.
God, we're so off topic already.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
No, so for me, the only one that really stood out was the Superman theme song, and that's only because as I was growing up, we had those episodes like on maybe it was VHS, and then when I was really little, and we would watch them over and over. So that kind of resonated with me from a childhood aspect. But I wrote down like Superman is the best of the worst of these theme songs because none of them were really. I didn't feel super afterwards.
I'll agree. I mean, it's not the best Superman theme song.
No, it's certainly not.
But it was the first.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was better than the other two. That's all I would say.
Yeah,
I was
there
like,
you go.
Superman wins hands down on this one.
There it
No,
is. Tim.
Maddie's got 9 out of 10 for me. Superman only got 5.5 out of 10.
What about you, Nicholas? Any of these?
I gave I did everything on a 1 out of 5 or out of 5 ranking. I gave Fleischer's 3 out of 5. It's classic. I mean, it's what every series would basically build off of after that. The movies, the animated, like they all kind of build off of that theme.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the 60s where there's going to be a little bit more to talk about. Again, we're not going to talk about everything. We're just going to talk about the ones that stuck out to us. So in the 60s, we'll start with Tim here. Were there any that stuck out to you that were just like, oh, that's a great theme song?
Yes. So I have 2 on this one. I tried to keep it at 2. I have a couple of like close thirds in a couple of decades, but probably one of the most iconic of all superhero animated theme songs, of course, is Spider-Man from
Spider-Man.
1967.
There it is.
Yeah.
Nailed
So,
it.
yep. And then I enjoyed The Adventures of Batman, and not just because I'm a Batman fan. I just really liked that one as well. So those are my 2. But Spider-Man, of course, would be my number 1 pick because, like I said, it's so iconic. It was even parodied in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Like they found a way to kind of work it in weird ways in those. I think even in some of the more recent ones, you still get bits and pieces of it as well. So I didn't realize it was from 1967. Like I remember seeing those cartoons as a kid in the 80s. So I was thinking it was more 70s, maybe like, early 80s. But there's other variations that got to, but that was the theme song that I remember of all the other Spider-Man theme songs that we'll get to later on the list.
Nicholas, how about you?
I have the Popeye series,
Yep, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a good one. Yeah.
and then Tim stole my my Spider-Man
Yeah.
because that was really high on my list.
Yeah,
It's
I think
okay to agree with me. It would be
think it's-
better for y'all to agree with me anyway, so that we'll just get that out front. So just agree
think
with me
it's,
and everything will go fine.
Oh, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, we can all agree on the same one.
That would make this process a whole
No,
lot
I'm just trying to get it
easier.
out there first before you take over.
It's so cute that you think that you're the one that's going to cause drama if they don't agree with you.
So what about you, Bethany?
Okay, so for me, obviously Spider-Man, it's really catchy. It's something that we still sing today. It's iconic. Clearly it's the winner. But I do want to throw out there Speed Racer, just because I remember that cartoon coming on like when Cartoon Network was new. They played a lot of the classic cartoons, and that was one of them. And I just remember my sister and I loving Speed Racer, and we watched it constantly. And so hearing that song just brought back a lot of nostalgia that I had kind of forgotten about. So I just want to give a shout out to it. I know it's not the winner. Clearly Spider-Man is, but shout out to Speed Racer.
Blake, you in the same boat with the Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man's a classic, even parodied in The Simpsons with Spider-Pig. I mean, it's a cross cultural phenomenon, so to speak. Yeah, that was a really good one. In the spirit of some of the episodes that Laramie and I enjoy the most, I also want to talk about what's really bad about this real quick. Who is Aquaman? I want to know that. I don't know that man. And then the Marvel superheroes theme is so
I was going to get
bad.
into that one.
Yes.
You blessed us with that episode a while back, and then we got to listen to him again. I was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah. I just
So
want
we
to
didn't
make
talk-
sure we drill that home.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about this in the episode where Justin and I discussed the cartoon, but Bethany and I discussed it in the actual show intro, not the superhero individual ones. The fact that there is a lyric about,
Which honestly might make it win.
which is about how erotic they are.
So good.
Exotically erotic.
Exotically erotic.
So good it's
Which
bad.
is poetry. It's sheer poetry.
Wow.
Ron Burgundy would be so proud.
Yeah. But
Well,
I
he
do
did
want to
write the-
ask that.
He did write the theme for General Hospital, One Life to Live, All My Children,
Yep.
and Guiding Light. So
Yep.
Way to read the notes, Tim. Way
Hey.
to read the notes.
I did
Yeah.
my homework. That's also important.
All right, we got it. I didn't do my homework.
But I do want to ask, since we did do that episode earlier, of the heroes, Captain America, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Mighty Thor, and Namor, which one did you like the best?
Ooh.
I hope the earth opens up and swallows them all whole.
Right.
They were.
I gave Hulk and Thor 2 out of 5. Everything else was lower.
Hulk was
wow.
my favorite. Hulk was my favorite.
Thor sounded like a military song, like it belonged to the Air Force or the Marines.
Thor was terrible.
Iron Man sounded like it came out of a jazz lounge. I smelled like cigarette smoke after listening to that theme song.
Yes.
Okay.
Tony Stark.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Some Yaz flute to give you another Anchorman reference.
There
Okay,
you go.
I-
There you go.
I gotta admit though, I'm a fan of the Captain America one. When
Captain America was pretty good.
mighty shield.
It was a bop, and I know that because it said so on the screen in the cartoon. It said bop.
Oh my God.
But no, yeah, I'm with the rest of you with Spider-Man. I mean, that's so iconic of a theme. And I got some notes on that one because I knew we'd talk about it. Written by Paul Francis Webster. Dude won 3 Oscars.
Of course he did.
Let's move on into the 70s. I do want to go ahead and start with this one talking about Super Friends.
All 17 of them
yeah.
are the same. We got it halfway through it.
Yeah, the Super Friends music is the same for all of the seasons, even though they slightly changed the intro
Why did you put them all on there?
with the narration. I just wanted y'all to know.
For real, Laramie's list is like 89 theme songs, and 73 of them were Super Friends. Like it was just, it was just a bunch of Super Friends theme
Right.
songs.
Right.
I was like, how long are they going to be friends for? With this theme song, they should break up. This is
But
not good.
I want to point
The
out
toxic
it
friendship.
was really, I think, once I got into the 70s, I don't know how many of y'all went and looked once I put in some notes into the Google Doc, but that Hoyt Curtin, his name just kept popping up,
Well, he wrote the best one on there.
which was
Josie and the Pussycats.
Bethany, I have
Hats.
found myself tapping my foot while this was playing in my notes right here. Josie and the Pussycats crushed it.
That goes back, it's the same as Speed Racer, honestly. It was one of those cartoons that was on Cartoon Network. I loved it. I was obsessed with the cartoon, and then the movie came out. I was obsessed with the movie. It's just great. It's a bop. I would want to listen to that song without the cartoon, but with the cartoon, it gets you jazzed. It gets you ready to watch it.
I'll go with that.
so. How about you, Blake? Was there anything out of the 70s that?
Yeah, Josie and the Pussycats, good stuff. I actually didn't mind Sabrina's, although it didn't match what I feel like the show was about. It sounded very country, throwdown, line dancey to begin with. Maybe some like banjo in there somewhere. Those are really my top 2. again, Super Friends, pick a set of friends and stick with it. Quit changing everybody out. And then New Adventures of Batman. Now we have the characters narrating their own intro, which was even worse than before. So, Josie and the Pussycat, Sabrina.
And I'm
top two.
Batmite.
Yeah. No, you're not. Nobody wants to see you.
How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I think maybe because it got burned into my subconscious, having to listen to the Super Friends theme again and again and again and again and again and then again later. So that one stood out. But the one that I was a little surprised that I really enjoyed was Spider-Woman. And I think I might have seen a couple of those episodes, but when I was, I listened to all of them, then I go back and which ones jumped back out at me thinking about them. And that theme was really fun, and I enjoyed it. I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of Josie and the Pussycats. It irritated me.
That's all
but
right.
I like Spider-Woman.
Well, I had to, really narrow down the Super Friends, and I specifically chose the 79 Super Friends.
Huh.
Why? They're all the same.
Because it had the Wonder Twins.
I wanted to know what was different. I was like,
Fair.
Yeah.
And then Challenge of the Super Friends is the one I think I'm guessing is the one I think of the most. As I am quite a bit older than the rest of you, I think I probably was watching that one at a much younger age than. Well, no, I'm not old. I'm not older than Tim, but
You're not older than me. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's the one that was on rotation the most when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's the one where you've got the Legion of Doom.
Right. So that one brought all the warm and fuzzy feelings back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't understand my own notes, so you'll have to help me out here. There's one I just wrote as U.S. Archie.
Oh yeah, the
That's one of the
Patriotic
songs.
Archie.
Yeah, that was one of the shows is the U.S. of Archie.
Okay. I wrote cool tune but bizarre concept. 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Very bizarre concept.
That sounds like a note I would write.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me the Super Friends again, if you take out as we've all talked about, if you take out the talking,
Mm-hmm.
like
The
I
voice
do
acting.
like the
Fine.
music.
It's fine.
The one that I was surprised to like
Mm-hmm.
was actually the Flash Gordon one.
Yeah, that one was interesting.
I wrote too much info. Just too much talking.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the 80s and let's go ahead and talk about Super Friends again. This is where the rest of them were.
I did not choose Super Friends for this decade. I'll say that up front.
Okay.
I will talk about the Super Power Kid team or whatever. That one wasn't bad. I didn't
With
mind that
Shazam?
one. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, the Shazam one.
yeah, that wasn't awful.
I'll let y'all talk, but is really I think it comes down to, is it DuckTales or is it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
It's
Yeah,
DuckTales.
those are the only
It's
two
DuckTales
really
100%.
ones. Bethany, while I did write DuckTales, quote unquote, still a banger on my notes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Teenage Mutant
Turtles
Ninja
is
Turtles-
too repetitive. It's too repetitive.
It could
DuckTales,
s-
woo woo.
It could still be a theme song today, Ninja Turtles. You could put it on a
So
TV
could
show
DuckTales.
today.
DuckTales is a
and it
theme
would be-
song
Right.
today.
I was going to say, yeah, with DuckTales, even when you put it back on the list again, it's like, it's the same song, it's just like a
Yeah,
better
it's
mix.
just an updated version.
Yeah, and then all the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle songs are variations of
different.
this song. So
They're different though.
yeah,
But
but I did not have. What was the one we were just talking about? Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Turtles.
Not on my list. Was not on my top two. I actually had the
Okay.
Superman 1988 because it had the John Williams
It's the
Superman.
it's a arrangement
Well, that was-
of the
yeah,
John
okay.
Williams.
So that one jumped out to me. But DuckTales was probably my number one because once again, most iconic. But the funny thing for me is I don't think of DuckTales as being an 80s cartoon. I think of that more of 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think that's when it kind of hit
Yeah.
its stride. So.
I went off of when the shows premiered.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for
Sure.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I got it. But
And I'm sure there's a lot of people going, DuckTales is Disney. No, DuckTales is based off of a comic book. Even though it is connected to Donald Duck and
Mhm.
Disney, the Uncle Scrooge was a character in the comics
right.
before the cartoon, so it did work. That one was written by Mark Mueller and performed by Jeff Piscetto. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Pachetti.
Who I want to point out that even though they're not on this list, same guys did Chippendale Rescue Rangers,
Yeah.
which is another
Another great one.
classic one.
Good one.
Yeah.
It slaps.
Sure.
So Nicholas, was there anything that stood out to you other than DuckTales and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Okay, well, those two are the only ones that got 5 out of 5 in the 80s, but I had a couple 4 out of 5s.
Okay.
I had Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cheesy, but in the best way, and it also brings back all the nostalgia feelings.
It's
It
as
did for
cheesy
me,
as
too.
lasagna.
I had forgotten about that theme song, and
Yeah.
when I listened back to it, I was like, oh, I remember this on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
Heathcliff for the same reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, is the Superman you were talking about? I wrote Superman Ruby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's Superman.
Okay.
It's the Ruby Spears Superman.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, that one I also gave a 4 out of 5
That
too.
was good.
I gotta say one that just screamed 80s theme song to me was Defenders of the Earth.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I had that one
Very
marked
80s.
as 80s rock. Like I was like, wow, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the one you had, the one that brought back memories because I had forgotten about. Like, when I saw the name, I was like, I don't know what the show is. And as soon as it started, I was like, oh my gosh, I used to watch this show and I
Yeah.
totally forgot about the theme song. So that was, it didn't make my, wasn't the top one, but it was definitely one that like reignited the nostalgia for me. But I will mention about Heathcliff was one that I don't know why I watched that show so much as a kid. Like, I can't tell you anything that happened in any of the episodes, but I knew every word of that theme song, which means I had to have watched it almost every day. So I really enjoyed that one.
Well, there was the
And so-
there was the faction when I was in elementary school. Were you a Heathcliff or were you a Garfield? You couldn't.
Yeah, I remember that debate.
Yeah,
you
always
Which was
had
better.
And see, that funny thing with me was like I had books of Garfield comics, like the comic strip collections, and I would draw Garfield, so he was my favorite character. But I didn't like the Garfield cartoons, but I liked the Heathcliff cartoons, but never read any of the Heathcliff comics. So I'm a weird person.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
on.
I was born in 1987, so
And I was born 1 year later.
I don't.
So
I don't.
I do not relate to this conversation at all. But good job.
I'm glad y'all
Sorry,
are
guys.
having a great time. No, I really am.
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
Nicholas and I were.
enjoyed the
Nicholas and I were
discourse.
born before you. Yes, we're
We
older.
were,
But
we
hold
were
on.
just a baby.
Am I
Which is-
Heathcliff or a Garfield though? I need to know now.
You need to do your own research.
Oh, I
Which
have to,
one
like,
do you
decide
prefer?
for
Is
you
that a
have to
BuzzFeed
watch it
quiz
for
that we need
yourself.
to take?
Yeah, is this like a? Am I
You
gonna
have to
get?
determine that for yourself.
Put into
That's
a house?
personal
Right.
decision.
I think it's more like which one did you like better?
Yeah,
because there were
okay.
two.
All right.
There were two Cats comic strips that were out at the same time.
And that were
Okay.
So
orange
this has
cats.
nothing to
like,
do with
they were-
Wuthering Heights.
Right. For
That's
your
what you're telling me.
generation, it would be like were you team werewolf or vampire for the
Okay.
whatever that Twilight.
Okay, I get it now.
I got you.
was.
I'm with you now. I was team book burning on the Twilight books, just as a heads up. Okay.
And I was Team Edward.
Oh, okay, there you go.
But I going back to Defenders of the Earth,
Mhm.
talking about just how 80s it was, and then to find out the same guy who wrote that theme song, Robert J. Walsh, also did G.I. Joe,
Yes.
Transformers,
Mhm.
Jim, and Muppet Babies.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
make your dreams come true.
Yes, that was a bop as well, Bethany. But yeah, like the beginning of Defenders of Earth very much brought G.I. Joe vibes to it. Like I was curious why G.I. Joe was not on the list, because that would have won for sure.
I don't think it was a comic first.
It wasn't,
I think that's,
right.
yeah, because
And
there
it
were a
didn't beat
few.
DuckTales,
There
so.
were a few that I came across, and I was like, okay, it has a comic, but I was like, which came first?
Mhm.
That's what I was at. I will say there is one that I missed, and I'm curious if y'all remember this. It came on Nickelodeon, but it's based off of a British comic, and it was Count Duckula. Do any of y'all remember Count Duckula?
Why did
I vaguely remember
Very
Count
vague.
Duckula.
I remember
Very
Banicula.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great
No,
book.
Count
That's
Duckula.
different.
It was. It was just like it seems. It was a duck who was kind of a vampire, but he didn't drink blood. He drank ketchup.
Ew,
That was the thing. But yeah,
that's grosser than drinking blood.
so just wanted to throw that one
I
out.
do
That was
remember
one.
that. I just looked it up. Sorry, I had to look it up. I do remember this. Because I kept thinking, why is he Count Dracula when he looks like Frankenstein?
Well, I think there was another character that kind of resembled Frankenstein in the cartoon. So now going back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, were y'all aware that that was written by Chuck Lorre?
No,
No.
I did not.
Yeah, the guy, the producer of Two and a Half Men, Big
Yeah.
Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Darman Greg.
yeah.
Mhm.
He and a guy named Dennis. I was about to say Tennessee. Dennis C.
I was like, Tennessee Williams right there?
No, Chuck Lorre and Dennis C. Brown wrote that song, and then Dennis C. Brown would go on to do some ones I remember greatly. Toxic Crusaders,
Nice.
James Bond Jr., and then he was even the guy behind the 2.5 Men theme song.
Wow.
Men.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do the whole theme song, Cameron, without getting in trouble. We gotta.
Right. Yeah. I can only do like 30 seconds or like it's like 10 seconds.
If we all do different parts, does that still count? Okay.
But one thing I just found out this week is E.G. Daily, who is a well-known voice actress. She was an 80s actress and singer as well.
Yeah.
She was the voice of the little boy in that opening of the theme song.
Oh, the Amen.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
very cool. All right, now let's get into the 90s.
Well, this will be quick because we all agreed earlier it was Sailor Moon, right?
Did we now?
Bethany,
We did.
you close your mouth right now, okay? You close it
No, look.
and you listen.
All right.
Look, you can sing along to Sailor Moon.
There's a definitive 90s cartoon theme song list, okay, from comic books.
It's definitely not
Okay, I'm
Batman
glad-
the Animated Series.
I'm glad you said list, because I was worried you were just going to go for one.
No,
I'm
there's
like,
a list. There's a clear number
Okay.
one. Then there are some. It's like the Braves in baseball. There's a number one. Then there's the rest of the field kind of thing. So that's Batman the Animated Series being number one. It fits the theme of the TV show, the mood, the feeling. It is number one without question. At number two, Spider-Man is fantastic because it is so super catchy. And then X-Men.
Yeah.
X-Men at 3 for me. It's my top 3. Top 3.
I don't agree with the Spider-Man beats out X-Men.
Okay.
I don't either.
Hey, Laramie,
Okay,
it's
X-Men is a really good one.
we don't have
forget
to
about that one.
agree. That's fine. You're wrong, and it's okay to be every now and then. So it's all right. I will forgive. But Swamp Thing is a close 4, and even Fantastic Four.
Swamp Thing is the worst of the
No, I love Swamp Thing.
No,
I love
Sailor
It's
Moon is
Wild
a Swamp
Thing.
Thing.
I know
but
that's
with
why
Swamp
it's great.
Thing.
It's a classic rock song turned into a cartoon theme song.
It's
I
called
did enjoy it.
plagiarism.
I did enjoy Swamp Thing. I gave it a pretty high rating.
Nicholas, my God, that's
What was
I'm
the
talking
rating,
about.
Nicholas?
However, I mean, of the 90s, I gotta look in here. I think there's 2 pages for the 90s.
See, that's when I
So good.
was running out of time, and Laramie was like, "Well, I'm about to go down," so I've got like 4 things written down.
Just
Yeah.
scribbling.
The only ones that have 5 out of 5s in the 90s are Batman and X-Men. Everything else is variations on a theme of 4s or 3.5s. But Addams Family was cool. Dilbert.
Yep.
Dilbert works
Yeah.
really well, but only if you're watching. Like just listening, not so much. But and I
Which
forgot.
we're
I
gonna
forgot
get
how
into
much
that a
I
little bit
love.
more, too,
I forgot
yeah.
how much I love Dilbert as a cartoon. Batman Beyond was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Tick, I gave very high ratings to. Spawn was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Spawn's just
Match the mood though, like
There's-
yeah,
yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
screams. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I wrote down, and again, it's tough to compile a definitive list in all seriousness because this was such a golden age of theme songs. Everything was just good. It was popping off, as Gen Zs and Bethany would say, slapping around. Just
Sorry, I'm an 80s kid, so your golden age comment is incorrect.
I know it would
because
be
the 80s
70s,
were, the 80s were the
oh,
golden
80s.
age.
Sorry, okay, all
No,
right.
the 80s were just really long toy commercials.
Oh,
The 90s
ooh.
actually got into
Hot
And-
take, hot
and-
take. Okay.
The
the
90s,
problem with this is
the 90s was just a bunch of cable channels trying to have cartoons.
And they
They were,
did.
and they were also
yeah,
basically
that's
just
kind of
toy
the point,
commercials.
Tim.
No, but the thing about my point about the 80s is because the 80s is the golden era of theme songs altogether. Most of the most iconic TV theme songs are from the 80s.
Okay.
Greatest American Hero, Cheers, The Golden Girls. Stop me if you haven't heard one of these. So I think the cartoon themes kind of had that same kind of feel to them. The 90s, they were okay, but they tried to be too hip, and all the grunge sound stuff got really irritating, especially as we get into the thousands. I didn't like
Which
hardly
is-
any of those, but anyway, we'll get
which is
there.
why I want to come back to Blake saying Spider-Man. Which
Right.
Spider-Man?
Right.
Sorry, let me.
Because there were 2 in the 90s.
Let me specify. Not unlimited. It was just the Amazing Spider-Man, right?
So it was you talking about the one that went like Spider-Man?
Yeah, that one. Yep. Yep.
That was that was actually Joe Perry from Aerosmith.
Oh, nice. Makes sense.
Is that
Yeah.
is that
Much-
on your list? Is that the one that came after Mask, the animated series?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
I said
yeah.
not capturing the original spirit 2 out of 5. I didn't like that.
that. Nicholas. We were good, Nicholas, and
I
now
love the rankings. It's great. I should have done that.
I know, right? I'm a little upset here. Nicholas is more prepared than all of us right now.
I also want to point out that one was written by Shuki Levy, who was one of the guys behind Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Another
Now
classic.
that's a good song.
And speaking of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the same guy that wrote the X-Men opening theme song also wrote the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song.
When you got it, you
Yeah.
got it.
Power Rangers.
Right.
Well, I mean, we were talking about Batman. I mean, Shirley Walker, even though it was kind of like the Ruby Spears Superman was an arrangement of the John Williams theme, the Batman theme is an arrangement of the Danny Elfman one from the movie, but it was arranged by Shirley Walker. And then Shirley Walker would also do the Batman Beyond. She would do the Superman, the animated series. There was one other one that she was behind. Oh, Spawn. Y'all mentioned Spawn. She was the one behind Spawn. So there's another name that popped up a lot there.
Surely she should do some more.
But
Oh, airplane reference? I'm just trying to break out as many other movie references as I possibly can.
All right.
So coming out of the 90s, we've got Sailor Moon, and y'all liked which one? The X-Men?
Bethany's the only one mentioning Sailor Moon.
I'm sorry, Laramie, you have to live with one person in this chat. So which one are you going to write down?
All right. When am I moving in, Blake?
There you go. Actually, we do have a spare room, Laramie. The cats don't even go there that often, so you should be fine.
All right. Let's jump into the 2000s. Anything? Let's go with Nicholas first on this one.
Oh, okay.
Anything out of the 2000s?
Um,
Because I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's Justice League.
Yeah,
for me.
it's not even close, is it?
well, let me look at my list here and see if I agree with you.
I need the Scoville scale here to tell us what are we looking at?
The 90s, the 2000s didn't have as much good stuff for me. Now this one is for me. It's a debate that we're gonna have. Baby Blues.
Yeah.
I love the Bare Naked Ladies. They're one of my all-time favorite
Great
bands.
fan.
So it's all been done before. Is just one of my more top 10 Bare Naked Ladies songs to begin with. But is it really a theme song? Because it's basically just
Yeah.
It's just a song.
they just took the song and threw the intro on it. You know.
Yeah. I thought about that too.
Um,
Listening to it, I was just like, yeah, is this a theme song?
It's great, but
yeah.
Okay.
I did like the Justice League. I wrote classic, classy, just simple, 4 out of 5. Teen Titans, anything you have Puffy Amiyumi in is a lot of fun. You know, a Cartoon Network staple. And then the only other one was Spectacular Spider-Man, where I said it finally got good again, 4 out of 5.
And I like how the Spectacular Spider-Man intro is just like a music video for that theme song. Like they even have the little credit in the bottom corner.
Yep.
How about you, Tim? Anything from the 2000s?
Justice League was my number one, and I'm like Nicholas. 2000s, none of these shows are ones that I really watched because I wasn't watching animated stuff in the 2000s or much of the 90s, honestly. But the one that stuck out to me, the Fantastic Four, I really liked because it had very like Mission Impossible vibe to it, which I thought made it stand out from the other a lot. Once we got into like the 2000s especially and the 2010s, like every theme starts to sound exactly alike. Like they all kind of blur into each other.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
So the Fantastic Four really jumped out at me with that Mission Impossible style theme. Now, how that fit with X-Men, I don't know. Those aren't two franchises I would automatically think of merging together, but the song was cool.
No, I think I'm just going to end up echoing things that Nicholas and Tim have said with Justice League, clear number one in my book. And then it's a lot of middling from there on. The Fantastic Four theme song, like Tim said, pretty cool, like spy feel to it. I agree. Kind of James Bond-esque. But yeah, and with Nicholas, I'm a big Bare Naked Ladies fan, but I was kind of with you on that one. It's just a song you turned into, you cut it short and made it a theme song. So that kind of took it out of the running for me as far as originality goes, even though I did like the Swamp Thing before Tim calls me out on it, since it's plagiarism. But yeah, so that's my take on the 2000s. Not a whole lot happening.
Bethany, anything from the 2000s?
As you know, I did not make it that far when it came
Okay.
to doing my homework. So.
She's like, Sailor Moon was still great. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one.
But you know what? Of these songs, I have heard It's All Been Done by Bare Naked Ladies. So I would like to confirm that is a good song.
Yeah, I got to stick with Justice League. Although Teen Titans is up there, I do like the Teen
That one
Titans.
was fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, is it with risking getting kicked out of the recording? Is it probably unnecessary to say I've never actually seen an episode of Sailor Moon?
No, it's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
Be careful,
good.
Nicholas. Don't say that with Bethany on the line.
I mean, let me ask you this with the list that I gave you. Had you ever seen Fat Dog Mendoza?
What
I-
is that?
no,
That
I had
sounds
never
I have
even-
no idea what
offensive.
that was. I
The
didn't-
90s was definitely where we started getting a lot more stuff that I had never heard of or just didn't even remember existed, or not
Same.
even the 90s, the 2000s. I mean, I was doing a lot of moving around in the early mid 2000s and moving from Atlanta to Virginia to Florida to Wisconsin, so I missed a lot of TV. But
Yeah, and I was gonna say like some of these were like on MTV as well, right? They're like I was picking up on some like were like Fox cartoons and like
Yeah.
MTV cartoons that definitely had a darker and more of adult feel to them. Than
Oh, I mean, Duckman. It was
Yeah.
a USA show. but
Okay,
it
it was
was
USA,
a
yeah.
late night USA show.
yeah, when that one
Yeah.
started, I was like, I think I remember seeing this, but I think I was not supposed to be seeing this
Yeah.
when I saw it.
I remember watching episodes of Duckman, and I was like, oh man, I remember Duckman. I can't find it streaming anywhere, so I can't rewatch it to remember if I was not supposed to enjoy it the way I did. But the one that really struck me as odd that I never knew they animated was Battle Pope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd never heard of that
I
one.
think it was. I think it was a web cartoon though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it aired on television.
like Spider-Man.
I think it was straight up a
Web,
I
sorry.
think it was straight up a web cartoon.
That took me a second.
There you go, Bethany. Light bulbs on.
Hey.
Well, let's and you know what? Let's go from Battle Pope into the 2010s and Axe Cop. How about Axe Cop?
yeah.
Axe Cop was a great show.
It was a decent. I enjoyed Axe Cop. I didn't. The theme song didn't do it for me, but
The theme song did
yeah,
go
No.
there, yeah.
I liked Axe Cop.
Never heard of
I
it.
actually rated the X Cup theme song quite highly because of Nick Offerman, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say this. I am a fan of the original DC Superhero Girls theme song. the
Absolutely.
Get your
Yes.
cape on.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
good.
Like, that's
My
a good
note on this was that I love it. It's empowering. Gen Alpha will be dancing to this at raves.
one. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, performed by Jordan Kane, written by a group called the Math Club, so that's
Mhm.
another plus for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right up your alley.
And
Make a math
to,
teacher proud.
Everything's adding up
to
here.
go back into the nostalgia part of it, that's a show that Ruby really got into, and it was her introduction into superheroes.
Mhm.
And it was kind of something exciting for her and Laramie to watch together, and he could kind of explain backstories, and
Very
you know,
cool.
it played it like almost a reverse nostalgia, like we're nostalgic for
Our
something
kids.
for our child. Yeah.
I had the same
So-
because Hannah watched it too when she
Yeah.
was little, and so like that was something we watched together. So it definitely, I had the same.
Which that
kind of
started off
feelings,
as a web series too. Like,
Oh,
that
really?
that was you could only see those episodes on YouTube originally.
Oh, okay.
But going back to what Nicholas was saying about things starting to sound alike, what did y'all think of all the Disney XD shows that were literally just the same thing over and over and over
I stopped
again?
listening to them all after a while. I was like, okay, I get
Yeah.
it. You're good.
Yep.
Because we had what Ultimate Spider-Man was that one of the ones that just had the chord play?
Yeah.
Avengers Assemble, Hulk and the Agents of Smash,
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy, like all of those were just this like you get the comic book ruffle
Yep.
with the
Right.
Marvel logo,
Yeah.
and then it was just like a chord, like you just hit a chord and show the title.
Yeah.
I gave
Yeah.
them all 0s out of 5.
Now we're back on track, Nicholas. Now we're back.
Right, right. Yeah, it was like especially, and you're as you get later on, theme songs were going away, so
Yeah.
you didn't get the full songs like you had in the 70s and the 80s, where those videos were like 2 minutes,
That was like
1
two
minute.
2.5 minutes long for
Yeah.
one of the Batman ones.
Yeah.
Right, right, and then you get into like the 2010s and 2020s. It's like this video is 5 seconds. I'm like, why are we even listening to this? It's like, can you rate a 5-second theme song? Does that
Yeah.
even
Yes.
register?
How did it make you feel, Tim?
Not
I
good.
will say also, at the risk of being kicked out of the chat, I really enjoy the Teen Titans Go theme song. I know it's not Teen Titans,
Yeah.
whatever, but it's something my kids enjoy, and it's fun to
It's
watch
fun.
with them sometimes.
Yeah, it's a fun theme song. I'm not mad at that.
It,
Yeah.
it gets you in the mood to watch the type of show that Teen Titans Go
Agreed.
is.
Agreed.
Mhm, yeah. It fits
Also,
the
Puffy
theme for sure.
Yumi. I gave it 3.5.
There, look, still on it.
That's fair.
The DC Supergirls I wrote not my style of music, but I can see why it was popular, and I refused to rank it because I felt weird.
Also very fair.
Right.
So I'm going to rank it for you, and I'm going to give it 25 out of 5. Dang, Nicholas.
Wait a minute. What did Sailor Moon rank if that's 25 out of 5?
77 out of 5. That's why it's on the list.
Clearly,
I gotta
clearly
say,
Bethany is not in the math club. Those
Fractions are good.
I gotta say another one for me though. Generator Rex. Like I
See,
enjoy the
I-
Generator Rex theme.
I'd never heard of that, but the theme song was fun. But I
Yeah.
wrote down, I was like, how did I miss this one? Because I thought I would like that
Oh,
show.
yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed the
yeah,
cartoon
yeah.
too. Yeah.
No idea what this is, but it sounds kind of cool. 3 of 5.
There you go. Crushing it.
yeah.
So that's what it's like when you actually do your homework. You have really good notes. Got it.
Instead of making up fractions. 77 out of 5.
So just because you're the Batman guy, Blake, what about the Beware the Batman?
I wish it was longer. Literally all I wrote beside it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Wish it was longer.
Yeah, that one was a short one. I remember that one.
But it has potential.
It's probably
Like,
Yeah.
probably if I was going on the Nicholas Pepin scale of awesomeness, it's probably a 3.5 out of 5, only because it's not long enough for me.
That's fair.
I don't know what Nicholas would rank it, as he is the authority on out of 5s. Unlike
2.5 out of 5.
Never mind. Nicholas is
Wow.
not the authority on anything. You don't listen to a word he says.
All right, and then let's get into the more recent ones, which I'm gonna have to admit, I don't think I knew any of these.
Yeah, I was
from the 2020s.
I was almost out completely on these. The Bat Wheels was super weird. Felt like I was watching. If I ordered cars from Wish.com, that's what I felt like I was watching. That was not fun. And then I did not care for. Hold on, let me look at this.
I mean, the What If one is another one that's just talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was,
I hate
it
the
was
just
weird.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I did not know any of these either, but the two that I thought were the best of the, and this is a smaller list, but that I really enjoyed like as a theme song. I like Samurai Rabbit. I thought that was a cool sounding
fun.
theme song. And I enjoyed Moon Girl Magic from
I
Marvel's
did
Moon
too.
Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Once again,
Yeah.
a show that I've seen like an advertisement before but never watched it.
Yeah, I've seen the
But
ads,
that
but
was,
I haven't watched it yet.
But that was a cool song. So, and the other, like, everything else was either too short, like 10 seconds long, or it just all sounded alike for me.
Yeah.
So Moon Girl Magic wins, because I also agree that Moon Girl Magic was just fun. Like, I got an idea what this show was about. It was a good time. It's going to stick with me. It makes me want to watch the show, actually.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, what's Nicholas Pepin got to say?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it. I've never watched it, but the one
Me
that
either.
the one that got a 5 out of 5 for me was Spidey and His Amazing Friends, because I love me
That
some
one was good, too.
I love me some Fallout Boy, and it was original. It wasn't just a cover.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I would listen to Patrick Stump sing the phone book.
Yep.
So
Yep, that was Patrick.
I agree. The only
That's
reason
fair.
I didn't pick it was because my child and I had a fight over Spidey and His Amazing Friend toys at Target, and I was a little triggered by it. So
okay, I don't have kids to get in a fight with at Target, so
Preach, Nicholas, preach. I fight with myself at Target over how many of the McFarlane line I should buy. That's what I fight about.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gone through all of it, again, hitting the ones that we wanted to discuss. But I will go back and ask any of you, were there any that we maybe didn't hit on that you want to go back that were maybe a surprise for you? Like, either you weren't familiar with the show or you were surprised at actually how good the theme song was, that anything that we haven't already discussed?
Yeah, I had one on my list, and that was Legend of Prince Valiant. I had no idea of this show. The theme song was actually kind of cool. It had that kind of like soft rock, kind of like a pop feel, more of like a real song. But looking at the voice actors that were on that show, I was like, how did I not watch this? Like, I want to go...
Yeah.
I think like episode 1 was in the little suggested videos on the box, so I was watching it. So I'm going to go back and watch some of those episodes, because like, how did I miss this show? That was from the 90s, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
That was 90s, yeah. So
that was that. And that was one that when I found it and pulled it up, I was like, I do remember this cartoon. Like, I did watch this cartoon.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good. I thought that was kind of it was good. It didn't hit that level of greatness, especially compared to the other ones of the '90s. But yeah, that was one for me. Nicholas, Blake, anyone for you?
I mean, it just...
Or Tim, did you have another one?
No, that was the main one that was what we hadn't really talked about yet. So.
There was just a lot of remembering, like, oh man, I did used to watch this cartoon all the time.
Yeah.
Especially from the 90s. I mean, that was when I was in high school and college, so I probably watched way more cartoons than I should have, but just having forgotten a lot of them, like Mother Goose and Grimm.
Yeah, that was one for me too.
Completely forgot that existed, but as soon as I saw the animation, I was like, I remember this.
Yeah.
I also didn't remember them making as many cartoons out of Phantom and those like I did with when I did the Who Played It Best, like the others, so not Marvel DC, but like, you know, the Phantom and Green Hornet and all, you know, all those. I forgot how many cartoons they made of that stuff.
They had the Phantom 2040, the one set in the future.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he was one of the Defenders of the Earth.
Yeah. So
Which had your magician that you did your one-shots
Yep,
on.
Mandrake the Magician.
Mandrake the Magician, yeah. So.
Yeah, I've got Phantom 2040 on there, mostly because of nostalgia purposes. I remember watching that. And then I have a brother who is about 11 years younger than I am, so I also got to watch a lot of the 2000s, 2010s cartoons because of him. And The Rocketeer was always, even though I liked the theme song of The Rocketeer, I liked the cartoon. And again, maybe it's for nostalgia purposes. My younger brother and I would sit and watch that together, but it's just one that kind of hits home with me a little bit. I like that one.
Yeah. Bethany, did you have any?
We didn't talk about this one, and we don't have to. I know it doesn't need to go on the list, but the Archie cartoon from the 60s. I loved that theme song. It was so peppy. It like really sets the tone of what Archie is all about. The Archie Show. That was that one.
I wrote Groovy Man on that one.
Yeah. That one's...
But what was fun was I was listening to it and Ruby was close by. She's our 9-year-old, and she goes like, "Ooh, what's that?" So it like catches your attention. So it would have really worked for what it was doing, which was playing so that kids would want to stay and watch TV, because it's just like, oh, this is fun. I could get down with this.
Did you have an out of 5 for Archie, Nicholas? Just out of
jeez. When were they? In the 70s?
60s?
Well, the
60s.
original one was the 60s. There was a bunch of variations too.
Yeah.
The Archie
Kind
show.
of fun, catchy tune, 3 or 5 out of 5.
Put the word out. We're back on top. All right, there you go, Nicholas. That's what I'm talking about. It's a great rating.
I will say, like, of the 60s, that was the one that I said, this is the theme song that identifies that decade. Like, that was a very 60s, very 60s song for sure.
Wait, I want to get mine in real quick from the 90s. One that just for some talking about that catchiness, one that for some reason, even though it was such a short-lived cartoon, the Wildcats, Wildcats, like that just sticks in my head. And then I gotta admit, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I like the Fantastic Four theme from the 90s. Call the Four, Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it's not bad. I did write that you could do the YMCA to that, though. But still.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheesy. It's very cheesy.
Yeah.
But it's one that, again, that nostalgia. I'm a fan of it. I own that series on DVD. Although I will say it was written by Giorgio Moroder, who's the same guy that composed the music for Superman 3. So if that gives you anything, which Tim and I will be talking about in a few weeks.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks. So
I'm trying really hard to look forward to it.
Yeah. All right, but
you know what? You could watch Josie and the Pussycats instead.
No, I'll watch Superman 3.
Or Sailor Moon.
But our conversation was leading into my last little question before we really hone this down as to what we think the best is which ones do you feel like truly grasp the aspect of or the feel of the actual cartoon? Now, I did ask you guys, just think of the music. Do not compare it with the visuals that you see during the theme song. What music that when you hear it, you know exactly what the show will be. The style of the show, the type of show, everything about it. Bethany's going to say Sailor Moon. So
I can't even look at her.
Right.
So, but let me tell you why. So it's very ethereal. It tells you exactly what she is, who she is, what she's going to do. She's fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never runs from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
She would never turn her back on her friends. She is always
we
there
don't
to
have
defend.
to get the entire
Quoting
lyrics.
the theme song.
Yeah.
She is the one on whom we can depend.
Yeah.
She is the one named
Yes.
Sailor Moon.
And then tuxedo mask and all
When,
that. Okay.
when you become
So-
president, Bethany, I want you to get sworn in with the Sailor Moon theme song. That's what I want you to.
Absolutely.
All right, Tim, how about you?
Well, that was a tough question of all the questions because a lot of these
I agree.
I've never seen the episode to know how does it really connect with it. But the only one that really rose to the top for me, I'm not going to say it is the best theme song of them all or the most iconic, but I would put it in the top 5 for sure. And I'm going to say DuckTales is the song that best fits the show. I said what I said, and I stand
Look,
by it.
hey, I'm not
Okay.
I'm not mad at
All
that.
right.
All right, how about
Blake
you,
is,
Nicholas?
but-
I mean, it's fine.
I'm saving Blake because I know what he's going to say. All right.
I mean, I want to say Batman, but I think lack of lyrics really hurt it when you when you get to what the question was. That fits the theme and lets you know what you're in for.
Yep.
Without the visuals of Batman or X-Men,
Yep.
like you don't. I mean, they are great. So, like I can hear that song now, and because I know the visuals in my head, like
Yep.
Mhm.
it's there, it's perfect. But if I'm introducing it to somebody who's never seen it, and I'm just playing the music, not letting them see it, I gotta go. And this is not the first time I've promoted this on your podcast, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I've just watched Blake stew during that conversation because that is exactly why I was waiting because that was my. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, Blake. That's my thought about it as well.
So
Who are you?
Is that Batman doesn't work without the visual of that opening?
all right, so I'm gonna talk about some feelings that I have right now. First of all,
Just remember, you should never turn your back on your friends.
I'm gonna scream into this microphone. I, perhaps of my own fault, was not working under the understanding that we were introducing this to an alien visiting our planet, and just the music, no context. I know you said don't match the visuals of the theme song, but I was working under the prior knowledge of what the show is about, connecting. And Laramie, you're 100% right. Batman the Animated Series is it, if I were working under that assumption. But
Yeah.
since I'm no longer working under that assumption, Nicholas has opened my eyes, Aladdined me, a whole new world over here for this thing. We're on a magic carpet ride, and it's taken us straight to Josie and the Pussycats being the theme song that matches what the show is
Okay.
going to be about.
That is also a choice I can get behind.
But yeah,
I'm not
but that
mad at
was
answer.
my intention was if you were to say, "Hey, listen to this theme song. Is this the type of show you would want to watch?"
Oh, then
Like, that was-
Absolutely, I want to watch Josie
and
the
again,
Pussycats.
although the Batman music is great, it doesn't tell me anything about
It does-
whether I want to watch that show.
But it does tell me, are you going to be a slightly more depressed child after watching the show? Yes, then I'm in. I want to watch it.
Embrace the
I'm-
darkness.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm
Tim.
kinda-
Thank you.
sad
Yeah.
beige child.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of in the boat with both Nicholas and Tim that DuckTales or even Teenage Mutant Turtles.
DuckTales a tough one
I
to
think-
argue with.
Yeah, both of them tell me what that show is going to be like.
Yeah.
They tell me what I'm kind of going to expect out of the show.
The I will say though, I mean, I used to watch DuckTales all the time because that was back when Disney had their like Disney block on like ABC or whatever network it was.
Mhm.
So like they had it on the Disney Channel, and like a couple months later, you'd get to watch the episode. Well, I didn't have cable, so I was always behind. But I always watched DuckTales and
Was it Rescue
Tails,
Ranger?
Tailspin, Rescue Rangers.
Tailspin.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of really good nostalgic feelings with DuckTales, and I am sad that I kind of forgot it existed because I loved it so much. And then but I mean the one that I've just never been without is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I didn't like a lot of the remake versions, so we didn't
Yeah.
touch on
No,
those.
we didn't even
Yeah,
mention
they're
that.
No.
not worth mentioning. Yeah.
Right.
Because they were trying to just do a variation on the theme, and they just did it badly. But that original one, that
Yeah, it's definitely iconic. for sure.
Stands the test of time for sure.
But just to throw another one in, that's kind of my thought about the Get Your Cape On for the DC superheroes. I think you
Yeah,
just
that's a
listen to
good one.
that,
Yeah.
you what's like Bethany said, you're getting a girl power show. You know that it's going to be a positive influence on those who watch it. I think that's a good one too. All right. So I've been taking notes as we have discussed, and I'm going to run through our list here, and then we can kind of knock out ones that maybe we don't agree on and narrow this down. So this is what I have written down. I have the original Spider-Man, the classic Spider-Man.
Mhm.
I've got Super Friends.
All 17 of them.
Yeah. Josie and the Pussycats. DuckTales.
Oh, woo.
The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Batman the Animated Series. X-Men the Animated Series. Because my marriage depends on it, I've got Sailor Moon. Justice League. I have Baby Blues on here, but I put a question mark because I know we're kind of iffy about can we consider that one. Teen Titans, Superhero Girls, and then just because it was the only recent one we agreed on, I do have the Moon Girl Magic.
Yeah.
So let's have a discussion here. I will let each person eliminate one.
I like it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm down.
So I will start with Blake.
I'm gonna ruin everybody's choice because Super Friends has got to go immediately. Correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
It's got-
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Super Friends is out. Nicholas, how about you?
just because it wasn't the version that I thought of or the version that I is in my head, Josie and the Pussycats.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I do like the song, but that's the one that I heard wasn't the one that I hear in my head. When
You
I
hear the
think
one
of-
from the movie, probably.
probably.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. Tim, what are you vetoing?
Well, I'm gonna say two because I think one needs to be vetoed anyway, and that's the one with the question mark. I think we can take the Bare Naked Ladies song off because that one really doesn't fall into the same category as everything else. So I think that's.
All right.
I'm not choosing that. I'm just making an.
We
can all agree.
I think we can all
We
agree.
can all
Okay.
agree now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the one I'm going
it's
to
a
take
group
out.
decision.
Yeah, the one I'm going to take out is Moon Girl Magic, and not because I don't like it, but I think we all are going to have something that's going to be tied to nostalgia, and that one doesn't
Yeah.
have nostalgia for anybody, so there's no need for it to stay in very long. So
All right, Bethany, how about you?
Well, Tim took mine. I was going to get rid of Moon Girl Magic.
You don't
for the
have to get
exact,
rid of
well,
another
for
one.
the exact same reason that he had
Mhm.
mentioned. So my runner-up, I'm going to choose Teen Titans because
Okay.
I don't know that one.
So, now we will go around.
You're
Did you
not
pick
gonna
one?
choose one?
Yeah, you gotta.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay.
So we're choosing
Um,
from what's left now to eliminate.
We're
Oh.
we're now going to vote and see if anything gets
I was
eliminated.
gonna take a bullet for Laramie and get rid of Sailor Moon, but you know, he didn't give me that chance.
All right.
You'll take a bullet.
So let's go with let's see if we can figure out any as a group to eliminate. So we'll go with as long as 3 of us say yes to it, we keep it. If not, then we'll get rid of it,
Okay.
and we'll just see. We might end up none of these get eliminated, but let's try this out. So, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man. Nicholas, yay or nay?
Yes.
Tim?
Yesing to keep it, right?
Yes, yes, to keep it.
Definitely yes.
Bethany?
Yay.
All right. Blake, I'll let you just to say.
I feel
If you
like
want.
that judge on The Voice who doesn't really matter, but yes.
Yeah. You get 4 yeses.
Yeah,
You're going
you're
through.
going. The chair,
You're going to Hollywood.
chair
Okay.
spins
All
around.
right.
Different singing show where you get the
Sorry, my bad.
We'll go in reverse here. DuckTales. Blake?
Yes.
Bethany?
Woo.
Tim?
Absolutely.
Nicholas?
Yes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We'll go back. Nicholas?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Bethany?
Nay.
Blake?
Yes.
Batman the Animated Series. Blake?
Everyone's agreeing yes. I don't know why you're going to ask anybody else.
Bethany?
She's going to say
Yeah.
no. Oh, what was I
Yeah.
going to say? Bethany.
Tim?
Yes.
And Nicholas is holding up his Batman stuff, so I'm going to assume
So
that's
he says
a
nay.
non-verbal yes. All right. X-Men. Nicholas.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Bethany.
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
All right. Hold on tight. Sailor Moon. Blake.
No.
Remember I said yes to Batman.
All right.
No.
Bethany.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Tim.
Only because I've never heard it, I'll say no.
I sang it for you.
All right. Nicholas.
You recited
I mean-
lyrics.
This doesn't get me kicked off of all, future episodes, does it?
No.
Okay, then no.
All right.
Ugh.
Sorry,
So,
Bethany.
so
Hate you
Sailor
guys.
Moon is getting eliminated.
I would like to point out that this group of dudes just kicked off the one female song that
No.
was
That's where we're
You're
going.
still-
That's
no.
where
My
we're
bad.
going with
No.
this.
My
No.
bad.
All right. Justice League. Nicholas.
Yes.
Tim.
I'm trying to remember which one was this one.
This is the
League.
Justice League
That means nay.
animated
Series.
series.
Oh yeah, yes.
All right.
Not Joss Whedon.
Nay.
Bethany says no. Blake.
Yes.
And then finally, Superhero Girls. The Get Your Cape On. Blake.
Only because I've never seen the show. No.
Bethany.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Nicholas.
Am I allowed to abstain, or do I have to?
Nah, this is on you, man.
In order for us to have a majority, you're going to have to vote.
I mean, I
It
did
all comes
enjoy
down to
it.
you.
I did enjoy it, so I guess even though I feel wrong for voting, yes.
All right, so we are down to Spider-Man, DuckTales, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, X-Men, Justice League, and the Superhero Girls. So we got 7.
Mhm.
So I am going to let each of you give an argument for the one you think is absolutely the best. This might be a moment where I have to pause and edit it to give y'all a
break.
minute to
Let's
think.
take a brief
No,
commercial
I'm
break.
gonna go with the one that jumps out at me immediately, because if I overthink it, I'm gonna overthink it. I'm gonna go with the most iconic of them all, and it's Spider-Man from 1967.
And that's all the argument you're going to give?
That's it.
That it's the most
It was
iconic.
1967, and you can still, if somebody started whistling that song today, you would know exactly what that's
Oh,
from.
that's a tough one.
It
That's
has
tough.
it has
Okay.
endured pop culture for decades. That has to win in my book.
All right. Nicholas, how about you? You ready for an argument?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to stick with what I've been arguing with since whenever the last time you did the animated theme songs and I sent you in a clip of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, it fits what your definition was perfectly. It's got a catchy tune. It's got great lyrics. It lets you know what you're in for up front. Like, you're in for, turtles who are mutants and they're teenagers and they love pizza and,
Turtle
they're
power.
gonna, turtle power and all that. I mean, it matches. It does the job of what a theme song should do, in a way that a lot of these other ones that we didn't talk about just fail miserably at.
All right. Blake, why is it Batman the Animated Series?
I am going to take a step back outside of myself here and say it's X-Men. A
Ooh.
theme song that is probably majority responsible for the popularity of that show. Yes, it was a good cartoon show, but you tuned in and got hooked on that theme song. The guitar riff, you're still doing it right now. Everybody is, okay? Right? Every single, except for Nicholas. Everybody bopped their head, okay? Except Nicholas at the guitar riff. It's so...
Well, he's holding a cat.
I know. Major points again for Nicholas holding the cat. It's so popular that they're, reinvigorating the animated series. And again, I think that's in part due to the popularity, the lasting nostalgia of that theme song. It would not be the zombie cartoon show that it is, Rising from the Dead, if it weren't for that theme song.
Bethany, how about you?
See, this one's really tough because I'm torn between two that have already been mentioned.
You can?
No, I plan on it.
Okay.
Come on over.
So, trying to decide which one I want to hang my hat on. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the show that I actually did watch growing up, despite the fact that it was not something that appealed to me at all. And that's X-Men. Because just like you said, the theme song is catchy. You hear it, you know it. Even though I love a theme song that has words, you don't need words. You still sing it. And it did engage kids who had no connection to comic books, which is exactly what these shows were supposed to do in the first place.
Yeah, I think we might be honing in on this because my argument is for X-Men too. I think, like Bethany said,
my second guess was Spider-Man.
Well,
it was very close.
So I'm not going to argue. Yeah, I'm not going to argue against what Tim has said.
And I'm saying
Spider-Man.
I don't think everybody's choice is a valid choice, and it's hard to. It's really hard to pick one above the other, and with us, it's the funny thing with for us is with Nicholas and I, our nostalgia is going to be a little different than y'all's nostalgia based on when we're born. So I get it. So I'm not upset with X-Men. You do that guitar riff, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it still fits that. So.
Same with Spider-Man.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
and again,
this is obvious.
This goes into my argument. So Batman and Justice League, we love them.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the visuals of both of those shows are what really we draw into on those.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Batman theme song is not one you're going to find yourself humming. The Justice League one, not really. You're going to find yourself humming.
Mm-hmm.
DuckTales is a classic. It always will be a classic.
Right.
But I think, and this is also my argument against superhero girls, Forget Your Cape On. They're just a little too cartoony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, yes, it's a classic. Everybody, Spider-Man does what, But there's something about the X-Men one. The fact that, and again, I'm not going to argue with Nick with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's one you find yourself, you could sing it. It tells you everything you need to know about the show.
Yep,
I mean, it tells you about each one of the turtles and what their characteristics are. But there's something about X-Men, in my opinion, that even the song separated from the visual, you hear that guitar riff, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I mean, think about Miss Marvel. In the finale of Miss Marvel, when they reveal that she's a mutant, they play that guitar riff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know exactly
and that was
what they're
all
talking
they
about.
needed, and everybody all of a sudden, like Blake's saying, they're bringing back the cartoon as well, but that guitar riff was what everybody needed. So my argument is for X-Men as well. So I think we've narrowed it down to at least our final three, even though most of us have gone with the X-Men. We've got Spider-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and X-Men.
I'm not mad at that.
That's a
Spider-Man
tough list to argue with.
Yeah.
I'm only
really
mildly
is.
angry with it.
So
Sailor Moon's a close seventh.
I was expecting Bethany to argue for Sailor Moon, even though it wasn't on the list.
It did cross my mind.
So of those three, here's how I think we're going to decide it. I want each of us to rank those three.
Okay.
First, second, and third. All right? So I'll go first, and I will, in my order will be X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Spider-Man.
For my own personal reasons, it's going to be almost the exact opposite of you. I'm going Spider-Man, then X-Men, then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mine is X-Men, Spider-Man, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mine's going to be X-Men, Then this one's tough. X-Men, Ninja Turtles, Spider-Man.
I'm gonna go Turtles, X-Men, Spider-Man. I don't feel good about it, but
I know,
that's what
and that's like I'm trying to. It's mostly because
Right.
of when I grew up watching cartoons. Obviously.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
Now, my dad, huge Spider-Man fanatic. I know the song because of my dad, but I grew up on Ninja Turtles, and so that makes it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the Spider-Man song is so iconic. Aerosmith covered it in the first Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movie on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did there. So I mean, you're not wrong with that argument at all. But I agree with what you guys were saying about the X-Men. I mean, it just encapsulates that show, perfectly, even without lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got three really tough choices.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
these I definitely think are the top three.
You've got
Yeah.
two really difficult.
And I think
choices.
even with Tim's argument about your age is gonna
Effect.
kind of
Yeah.
decide. I think anybody of any age that grew up with these cartoons would still put these in
Yeah.
their top three, if
Yeah.
not top five, if they have a couple
Yeah.
others that they would.
Yeah.
So using that criteria of us all ranking it, and then giving point values for what each one of us said would be first, second, or third, X-Men wins. So X-Men followed by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then very closely, I mean, there was 2-point difference between each one.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Obviously, it
yeah,
was
two
my argument.
points separated X-Men and Turtles, 2 points separated Turtles and Spider-Man. So it was still very close, but I think based off of this, quick conversation of narrowing it down from the 127 theme songs I had you guys listen to.
That
Y'all are
100 of
suckers.
were
I did it in
super friends.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Of which 84 of those were Super Friends. I think we have agreed that X-Men the animated series has the greatest theme song for an animated comic book related show.
You're welcome, America.
So, all right. Any last words anybody has about this, or any last pleads to our audience of you shouldn't agree with this and you should go with something else?
No, I'll say that I'll say that it was a lot to watch, but it was fun and it was kind of cool to see how the theme songs have morphed over time, even with like new incarnations of characters you saw from the 70s to the 80s, even to the 2010s, and how they wanted to be relevant and they changed things. Some things were better than others. Like we said, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was not better. But it was kind of cool just to, almost like time capsules of what was entertaining or what was trying to garner the attention of kids or even adults at some points to watch these cartoons. So I thought it was fun. It was enjoyable to go back and like we said, we all said ones that we had forgotten about that oh my gosh, I know I saw this when I was a kid. To wake up that nostalgia is always a great thing.
It honestly made me go and look up, like, can I get this series on DVD? Like,
yeah.
Like I need to own this. I forgot about this.
His obsession continues.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, there was definitely a nostalgia button that was hit in my head a lot, especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was kind of glad that I did it, but at the same time, man, was that a lot of work. I think the arguments that we made, you really can't go wrong with any of the three. I mean, saying X-Men is the best, you're not wrong, but I mean, there's a few others. I mean, you could go back and make the argument with what essentially was the first one, Fleischer's Superman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That kind of kicked it all off and gave the idea of like, this is what we need to do. Mm-hmm. Some people really stumbled. I'm looking at mainly every Fantastic Four.
We didn't even mention, what about the Thing cartoon?
Well, there's a reason we didn't
let's
mention
don't
it.
talk about
Was that the thing with the Flintstones?
Yeah, it was an hour-long show called like Fred and Barney Meet the Thing, but they didn't actually meet the Thing. It was just a episode of the Flintstones and then an episode of the Thing, which was this kid named Benji Grimm, who, when he touched his rings together, he would turn into the Thing, and it was like he would say like, "Thing ring, do your thing." Yeah.
tell you what.
We've come such a long way.
Man.
Was there a writer?
The writing.
Was there a writer strike during that time too?
Yeah. I was like, this is a show that was definitely created in an executive's office that said we have these two properties we have to use together. How can we bridge them
With
together?
our powers combined, we'll make a garbage television hour. A couple.
Yeah, and you can definitely see throughout the history of cartoons where like they were really trying to do something, and then where they were just this is for kids, just put whatever on the screen and just threw the kitchen sink at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get into the 80s on into the 90s, where like it starts to become more of a prestige thing, and they're not just making it just for kids; they're doing,
broader. I'm looking for a broader audience for sure.
I think a couple of final thoughts for me here is one, to wax poetic about cartoons, no matter your age. I think more often than not, I still wake up on a Saturday morning, pop in Scooby-Doo, the entire original cartoon series, and I watch it while I eat a bowl of cereal. Cartoons are for anyone, at any time, at any age. Watch them, enjoy them. And then just a little quick shout out to a couple of shows that had comic books after the cartoon. Darkwing Duck and Captain Planet, two of the best cartoon theme songs, bar none.
So good.
Just wanted to give those two a shout out. I know they didn't fall in the criteria. Just quick shout out.
I agree with everything. I actually like what Nicholas said about the original Fleischer Superman. Again, it was one of the first, and it kind of just set that motif of this is what a superhero theme should sound like. And everything, like we've talked about, how everything just kind of is based off of this or based off of that. I mean, you could really go all the way back to the Fleischer Superman and say this is, these chords, this melody, the rhythm, this is what sets a superhero type theme. And so I do agree with that. But here it is on Moving Panels. We have decided that the greatest theme song from an animated comic book
is Sailor Moon.
Is X-Men the animated series. And we shall end it there. It has been decided. It has been said. If you disagree with us, then okay. Give us a reason to debate it more. We don't mind debating it more. Give us a reason. So, but thanks everybody for listening. Again, rate and review the show. Interact with the show on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And let us know. Again, you disagree with us? Let us know. We want to know, because this is
Fight
just...
us.
Really?
This was 5 individual opinions that we came together and ultimately decided on the X-Men. But that's where it is. But thank you everybody for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening. I thank again my panel for this discussion, and we will end it there at the end of our animation month here on Moving Panels. So for today, for Moving Panels, I'm Laramie Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
What seems to be the problem, pal?
There's just so much pain in the world, so many issues. I don't think I can bear it.
Well, friendo, it sounds like you could use a dose of pop culture roulette.
Pop culture roulette? What's that? Some sort of pop culture themed podcast or something?
That's right, sonny boy. When hope seems far, dive into some PCR.
But I already get my entertainment news from Variety.
Huh, that's pretty good. If you're a chucklehead, PCR gives you news you need, condensed, unfiltered, and raw, from 3 nerds who know a little something about something.
Wow, okay, sign me up.
That's the spirit. Pop Culture Roulette. New episodes every Monday, available on all major podcast directories.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to an 80s Flick Flashback podcast once in a while, you could miss it. Do you love movies of a certain age? Do you miss the days of VHS tapes, VCRs, and the video rental stores? Does the thought of another 80s movie being remade seem inconceivable? My name is Tim Williams. I'm the creator and host of the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. On each episode, I'm joined by guest co-hosts to discuss one of the many movies released in the 1980s. We share our first-time watch memories, our favorite scenes, and even learn some behind-the-scenes stories about the cast and crew along the way. New episodes are released every other Friday on your favorite podcasting platform. So make like a tree, get out of here, and go listen to an excellent episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. The ad is over. Go home. Go.